Hello there, all you cool cats and kittens. I hope you're doing wonderful.
Yeah, anybody that can do high pressure sales, they're gonna have the capacity to do self-staging, absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
We created our brand, which means we created our logo, we created our website, we created that vision before we launched our business. We didn't have a clue what our brand was before we launched our business.
Hey everybody, Shel Brodnax here with another episode of Stager Talk, and I am over the moon today to introduce to you somebody that I met a couple years ago, David Greenspan. How are you? Welcome.
I am doing amazing. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's just give everybody a little bit of history. So at the National Association of Realtors Convention 2019,
which feels like forever ago when we were in person. Yeah,
it does. It was our my last in-person event that I booked. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was my last real big one. So anyway, they send the speakers to your rooms, get there 15 minutes early, blah, blah, blah. So I'm rolling up and I'm seeing this crowd and walk in and I hear this guy on the stage and I'm listening and I'm like, ooh, who is this person? I need to know this person. Who is this person? And I'm looking you up and I'm looking and my Gina's with me off to the side. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to stand around until I have to give him a card that I book speakers and I need him to come speak at my event. I'm like, I hope this isn't too forward or awkward. And I'm grabbing my business cards and I'm like, hey, got to meet you. The rest is history.
You know what? I completely remember it like the back of my hand. And quite frankly, you know what? It was awesome. We were, that was definitely one of the sort of last in-person events. I know we did a few of them. Well, we did a few more after that, but I remember it completely. And I was absolutely floored and over the moon when you asked. It was awesome. And I know from that time we had gotten together and sort of spoke on the phone and did a Zoom together. And it was kind of like this just natural, easy conversation. And I remember when you brought up the event for Vegas and we were all pumped and ready to go for that. And then this little sort of newsworthy thing happened in the world. And well, that, but I'm glad to be back. I'm excited to be here with you guys. Seriously.
Absolutely. Germs are not going to keep us down from this event this year.
No way.
No,
so we're looking forward to it.
For those of you that might be a little bit unfamiliar, where have you been? First of all, David hosts an amazing podcast called Mindshare. Is it Mindshare 101, the whole podcast name?
So the podcast itself is actually called the Mindshare Podcast.
The Mindshare Podcast.
And you know what's really cool? Just so you bring that up, we actually hit, and we always, play around in this, but iTunes ranks the top 250 podcasts in the, in different categories, whatnot, in the marketing category. As of yesterday, we were number 20. And so the show's normally sitting in that top 250 range, but it's very cool. I think we hit number 7 at one point this year. And you know what it is, Shel? It's about the guests that we have on. It's about the content that's put out there. It's about the audience that's tuning into it, the value people are getting from it. And I think that's just the coolest part about it. I mean, overall, we have a bunch of fun with it as well, right?
Yeah, I love doing it. I was listening this morning with the one with Clifford
Starks, UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was on fire. He was on fire. That guy started I started finding these little spots to be able to nudge him. And I could tell he just started to, ramp it up. And then he started dropping F-bombs and doing all this stuff. And, but here's a guy who is an ex-UFC fighter, a guy who grew up studying kinesiology in school and then decided that, he wanted to actually train and do other things and then started wrestling and then sort of told his coach that year, hey, I'm going to be in the UFC and I'm going to do it in less than a year. And his coach kind of laughed at him and basically said, no, you're not. Nobody goes to the UFC in less than a year. And he said, well, I've got goals and I am determined and I'm going to go and do this. And that's exactly what he did. And he made the UFC, winning record. Now he's a speaker and a consultant and he talks about goals and he talks about mindset. He talks about resiliency. And let's call it what it is. Right. And here's a guy who his business is fighting and business is business, but his business happens to be fighting. And in business, we all lose. Mm-hmm. Same thing I tell my 10-year-olds who are, my baseball team. And I say, look, guys, you don't bat 1,000, right? We're teaching these guys to be resilient at the plate in the diamond. You don't bat 1,000. A good batting average in the major leagues is 3 out of 10, 300, right? So understand that if you hit at least 3 balls, you're doing really, really good.
Yeah.
So now bring this back to Cliff. It's this whole thing of when you lose And look, this is a message for everybody right now. When you lose, you've got to understand that you just got to pick yourself back up. You've got to learn from that moment when you lose. Now, we in business, we usually lose emotionally.
Yeah.
Well, here's a guy who's not only losing emotionally when he loses, he's getting his ass kicked. Like if he loses, he got his ass kicked that night. Physically. Literally. Yeah. And this is why I'm bringing this up. It was a very cool story to learn about resiliency, to learn about goal setting, to learn about how you pick yourself back up after not just emotional, but we're talking the physical part, right? Because he's going to be home for the next, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, icing and rehabilitating and, getting back out there in the cage so he can go do it all over again. How do you stay in that mindset that says, I want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
Don't give it all away. Everybody can go to iTunes, tune into the Mindshare Podcast.
Check it out.
It's a wicked story.
I'm going to finish the rest of the interview because it's funny that we even brought this up because on my notes, I put athletes I wanted to talk about. Yeah. So you play hockey, you coach,
yep.
So you're involved with the littles and whatnot. And so you're very athletic. I'm a competitor, man. I don't care what it is. I won't even let my grandchildren win at Monopoly. It ain't happening.
Ruthless.
I'm gonna teach these.
That's like my wife. Me, I'll like throw them a bone. I'll make the deal for Boardwalk.
No, you're making
my wife's like, forget it.
Forget it.
That's hilarious.
I look at mine and like, listen, Mimi's gonna take you out. I'm gonna own your Boardwalk, and I'm gonna teach them some things.
Luckily, I think I'm on your good side. Like, luckily,
you are. You're in the club. You're all right. You're good. So I am very much a diehard competitor, and back in 2015, I was competing in horsemanship, and so my first year out, I competed and I got last place 12 times. And talk about resilience. I wanted to die. I wanted to crawl in a hole because I don't fail at shit. I don't fail at it. And I failed miserably. And I was like, what do they want? And I'm driving home 2 hours to get there, 2 hours on the way home, crying. What do they want from me? Well, funny thing, quick story. I coach people all the time, with their own businesses and whatnot. And I actually went to an equine performance coach. She helps people recover when they've wrecked on their horses and things like that. She gave me a test and she came back. She's like, wow, I've never seen such fantastic scores about how you feel about competition. I'm like, yeah, thanks. And she's like, except for one area. And I was like, whoa, I can redo that test. And she's like, no, I'm going to help you with this. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I don't fail tests. She's like, it wasn't a pass fail. I'm going to share something with you. You're horribly obsessed with your competitors. And I went, oh, well, what do you mean by that? And she's like, you're worried about what they're doing and I was, because they were competing below their class, their ability level, their class level. So there are people that had been riding for 20 years. I'd been riding for 2, and they were competing against me. It's like, how is that even a fair thing? But it certainly did drive me to get better, didn't it? So I, in my business coaching, teach people all day long. Literally, I would probably speak, in a week, probably 6 or 7 people, telling them, don't worry about your competitor. But yet somehow I missed it. And I went back and I applied all my business coaching, brilliant knowledge, by the way, I highly recommend it, and went back into the circuit the next year. And I didn't finish less than 4th. I won the state championship that particular year. So funny we were talking about competition. So I'm relating all this athletes back into what athletes do. Into business. You can take these analogies and put them right into everybody's business, especially when you're going through slumps, whether it's COVID or just a marketing slump or whatever it may be. You take some of these same things about the goal setting and about the resiliency. Have you met Vera Jones? Do you know Vera Jones, the speaker?
I don't.
She's speaking at RESACON this year.
Oh, cool. Looking forward.
She is an athlete. She was a basketball player, went to Syracuse University, then went on to be a coach for Syracuse. And she was also I was going to say NFL. That's not it. Basketball, NBA, broadcaster. So she is another one who's an athlete who understands taking those athletic principles of how you strategize and your commitment and your goal setting and how you put that into your business and make everything work for you. So I love seeing the analogies of the athletes. It makes so much sense.
Well, listen, and when we look at, and whether you're an athlete or you're not, right? When you look at what you're doing in business and how you're operating, and you can take things, look, if you think about it, as you bring up coaching, right? As you think about athletes, and I asked Clifford this as well, because Clifford is now a coach as well. Clifford was coached, and as Clifford got into the UFC and was a professional UFC fighter, made it done. I said, were you still getting coached? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, and do you still get coached now? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And this is something that, people need to understand is that, when you take on coaching, you're not buying something in a box. Nobody's going to ship it to you like Amazon, where it's going to show up next day and it's going to be like, here's what you got. This is more of a theory. This is more of a strategy. This is more of problem solving. This is more of, looking around and going, how can I be better? And that's really where a coach comes in. And when you take it from a professional athlete, I mean, we had this one guy, he was a host of The Amazing Race here in Canada. And he was also a gold medalist at the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. And I had actually met him at an event as I was very similarly coming off stage. And here's this guy coming on stage. And, I know he's a celebrity and he's won a gold medal and all these things. And we ended up connecting. And now we're buddies. Like we talk to each other on the phone all the time, right? Even asking him, did you still get coached? He goes, I would never not have a coach.
Yep.
People can see the things you can't.
Yeah.
And when and keeping with this analogy of sports, right? What are we doing? And what are we doing in business? And what are we doing even as the people that are being coached? We're trying to get better. So a coach will see something you can't. You are going to have to put it in play. And no matter what it is, and even back to what that lady said to you about not looking over at your competition, one thing that we really have a problem with is we're always going, oh my God, what are they doing? Yet a big piece of advice right there is, hey, blinders, earphones. Don't worry about them. Yeah, but look at so-and-so. Look what she's doing. Look what he's doing. Yeah, but are they really doing? Like, do you know what they're going through? Do you know how much money they spent? Do you know how much money they're making back? Do you know about the BS that they've had to deal with? Do you know about any of that? Well, no, but look at their Instagram account. Yeah, don't go there with me, right? Don't go there, because Instagram or all these social medias, and it's not a knock on Insta, I love Insta, but all these social medias, you've got what's called vanity metrics. People look bigger than they are. Sometimes they're that big. Yeah. Sometimes they're even bigger than they look. Oftentimes people are not as big as they seem, right? And now what we do is, because we're looking at others, we're starting to make, we're starting to gauge what they do. We're starting to measure ourselves against them. Now what happens to us? You deflate. Then once you deflate, well, how do you get yourself back up there? How do you get that confidence to get back to where you want to be? Because you're always looking, going, oh my God, I don't know if I should be here. I don't know if this is the right place for me. Right. Walking into an arena where you've got people that have been studying for 12 years and you've been studying for 2, there's also something called imposter syndrome, where you sit there because you're looking at them, you go, I don't belong here. Hey, message for anybody who's ever thought about that. If you've been at a table where you look around, you go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm at this table. If you walk into a room that you can't believe you're at the room, if you say something and people are listening, if somebody says something to you and goes, I acknowledge what you said, and you're like, oh my God, they listened to me, and you think that you shouldn't be there. Let me tell you something. They've already accepted you. Yeah. They've already said, you're there. And remember this too, no matter what they got on you that you think they got on you, what do you think? They don't think that you got something on them? How did you get there to begin with? So instead of looking out at everybody and really focus on them, focus on you. And again, I'll take it right back to my baseball team. We have a pregame huddle every game, right before we're about to take the field. I get them all to the outfield, one knee. I give them my little motivational speech. Then I get them, big high five, and we, 1, 2, 3 Phoenix, because team's a Richmond Hill Phoenix, right? But I warn them, and they know this now, right? But it's still repetitive. Do not look at the other team. You're about to cheer loud. They're all going to stare at you. You do not make even eye contact with them. You run back to that diamond. Or run back to the dugout, and they're going to watch you run back to that dugout. And what are they thinking the whole time? Oh man, those guys look pumped. Oh man, those guys are going to smoke us. Oh man, those guys don't even care about us. That's right. And that's why we win. So when you take it in business, it's not about not having respect. It's not about not acknowledging other people's wins. Absolutely. I mean, again, reciprocity. We're going to talk about that when we get together, all of us, right? But when you go through that and you acknowledge what other people have done, you learn from other people. That's one thing. But being concerned about others, hey, at some point, you got to put it all aside. You got to stay in your lane and stay focused on what you're looking to achieve. Yeah,
absolutely. I've got a meme that I did in my horse competition of me trying to rope a dummy cow.
Yeah.
And
now, was the cow just dumb, or was it a fake cow?
No, it's a fake cow.
I'm joking.
A fake cow. And what it says, don't compare your best effort with somebody else's buckle winning run. And I've got a picture of a professional roper. She's just wham, she's nailing a real cow. And my picture, my rope is all cattywampus, and I'm like, all looking like this up in the picture. And it was so, I will have to say, I did have heat stroke that day. It was 110 in California. However, it's the point of that is that you cannot keep looking at everybody else. And even with the horses, for me to do what I did with the horses, and when I said I didn't think about the competitor anymore, I didn't care if I placed or not. I said, I'm coming here today. My goal with my horse will be X, Y, and Z. He and I are doing this today. As long as I did those three things, that's the only thing I care about is walking away. And when I did that, my very first event, I won. And I was like, holy shit, what I've been telling other people actually works.
Well, yeah. Look, there's always, this is the same thing I teach my kids, right? There's always going to be somebody bigger, badder, and better.
Yeah.
Always. So if you focus on them, you will again shrink.
Yes.
It's no doubt. So like what you did, you said, I don't care who's here. I don't care what's going on. It's me and the horse. We're going to go in here. We're going to do this, and this, and this is what we came to accomplish. What happens when you stay focused in your lane, you will accomplish.
It's amazing. And you just apply that all to business, and everybody's businesses grow. So one of the things I like about just your platform and what you are so known for is the Mindshare and being, that really top of mind and the easy go-to. So what I want to ask you is a couple things. I'm going to tell you up front what they are. So I want you to just explain what neuromarketing is. And then when we're talking about the path of least resistance and being the easy choice and the go-to, how also people balance that with boundaries. Because a lot of people might, when you just read that, obviously you're going to explain it all. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to answer that phone at 3:00 in the morning. So you see where I'm going with that.
So, okay. So to two things, to the first part of neuromarketing.
Yes.
Neuromarketing is essentially what we're doing to take in how, and I'm going to sort of simplify this and I don't want to use the word dumb it down, but simplify it to the point of, this is the way the brain works. This is why you and I and everybody else make decisions we make is the neuroscience, the neurology of our mind, right?
Yep.
What's happened with marketing is we've said, well, we're studying what people react to. We're studying why people react. We're studying why demographics and psychographics do different things. This is why you'll see the same brand advertised with 5 different messages in 5 different countries, right? Or 5 different parts of the country, because there's different people. And they think differently. They react to different things. There's different triggers. We've all heard the term CTA, call to action. Yeah. You need a CTA when you're doing marketing. You need a call to action, right? You got to tell them what you want them to do. You can't just, look, it sounds crazy. I was having a conversation with somebody this morning, and she says to me, she went and got new postcards, and she's going to do this campaign to the neighborhood. And we went through the depths of the whole thing, right? But she goes, I'm going to do a campaign. And I said, well, what does the postcard say? And she explained to me the postcard. And I said, what's the CTA? And she knows the term. And she goes, and again, for everybody, call to action. She goes, well, my number's there. I'm like, okay, I want you to think of me as like a really stupid person right now. I've opened up, and maybe that's the wrong way to say it, forgive me, but I've opened up the mail. I've looked at this thing. I see your name. I see your phone number. What do you want me to do with this? And you're in your head going, duh, call me. You didn't tell me to call you. Right. So what happens now through neuromarketing, this is that study of how the mind makes decisions on buying, on, selling, on negotiating, on how what they're going to ask for or not ask for, why they're going to buy or why they're not going to buy. So the study of that, bring the neuroscience over to the marketing part, you got neuromarketing. Why are you and I making decisions we're making? And that is something we're going to dive right into when we talk about the path of least resistance and how to become the path of least resistance. Now, to the second part of the question you asked around, how do you do that, with I guess, still maintaining control? And it all comes down to time management. Yeah. Right. It all comes down to understanding what your borders are, like your boundaries are. It all comes down to understanding, what you need to do in a day. And again, we're going to dive into this together in full force. The simplicity of it, though, means, like use a watch, keep a schedule. Let's take this another way. And again, we're going to break this down so that everybody can actually take notes and do this properly when we're together. Right. But if I sit to you right now, Shell, come over. Forget about like plane rides and all the other stuff going on these days, but like, come over. Could you come over?
Mhm.
Okay. How do you know where you're going?
Never been there. I
So
don't
what
know.
would you ask me for? My address.
Your address. How do I get there?
Cool. Perfect. But you've never been here before.
Right.
So even with my address, what would you do? Put it into navigation and just follow the Navi. And if you really wanted to get here, and the Navi said turn left, crazy question here. Would you go right? Probably not. So the idea becomes follow the navigation and you will achieve or arrive at your destination, right? Well, if you want to have something in business and you want to get somewhere, and you want to hit goals, how are you getting there? Because without the goal, without knowing where there is, first of all, you're never getting there. The next thing is, let's say you figure out where there is and you go, I want to get there. Well, how are you getting there? Well, you got to use a navigation. And let's, for the context of business, call a calendar your GPS. You see, because when you break it all down and you understand exactly what needs to be done in a day, those little tiny things you need to do, well, it's the little tiny things that paint the big picture, period. So there is something about borders. There is something about, again, managing your time. There is something about understanding what and this, funny how that all comes right back to the question you asked a moment ago, right? About not looking at your competition.
Yeah.
Right. This is you maintaining control of what you do in a day. Right. And when you do that and you become people's path of least resistance, you become the easy answer. Now you're in full control of achieving what it is you ultimately want to achieve in life.
Nailed it. Words of wisdom. I'm telling you.
I don't want to give too much away. We're gonna have a wicked
I
session together.
I
you know
know,
what I mean?
but you're just so easy to talk to. It's like you're just very intriguing, David. You've just got a lot of these. It's just for me, you're just my jam. So it's like you and I, we get together and we can sit here back and forth. I just want other people to know you got to get into David's session because he's just going to blow your mind with some of this stuff. It's just, he really has just a lot of good, solid things that when you really dissect it and you look at it from the bigger picture, you're like, oh my God, this is just makes so much sense. But yet people don't take time to figure out the sense that it makes and I had this conversation with somebody this morning especially when people talk about goal setting. Okay. Yeah, I want to buy a house, but I could never buy a house. I've got poor credit. I don't have enough money. I won't have the down payment. How am I going to live in between? I can't save the money. I can't this. So they start thinking about all the reasons why they can't do something, all the obstacles that are in front of them, instead of, thinking about the goal that they want to achieve. So their mindset is backwards, because if you focus on the goal, then when the obstacles come around, those are the things that are going to build your foundation. So then you just knock out each obstacle at a time, because they're not there to keep you out. They're there to keep people out that don't want it badly enough. So kick that shit to the curb and just switch your mindset. But so many people it's like, it's not their go-to.
You ever heard of a guy named Alex Honnold?
No.
Look him up. He did a documentary, and it was his buddies that were filming it. Okay, and these are all professional guys. It's called Free Solo. So Alex Honnold, Free Solo. This guy free climbed El Capitan, which is a mountain.
Yes.
Okay, let me tell you something. Okay, let me tell you, I'm going somewhere with this. I watched that in my family room, standing up with my stomach in my throat for 60 minutes. Now, they did a documentary about the guy. You had to kind of think he's probably not going to fall. I'm not going to tell you all how it ended. However, there was no ropes. It was straight up. This wasn't like a hike where he's like, he's got a pole or something. No, there's no ropes. Zero. One mistake. One doubt. See you later. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you said can't do it, and this thing of people believe because of this or because of this or because of that can't do it, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed going to fall.
100%.
And so one thing that I tell my kids, my son's 10, my daughter's 8, and every night of their life from the day they were born, which my wife would laugh at me. She's like, honey, they don't understand you yet. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. They will. They will. And it, no joke, has not wavered. Okay. You can do it. I tell them I love them. I tell them I'm proud of them. We talk about the day, whatever. But just as I close those lights, I give them that kiss and I sort of give them our secret handshake, right? I'm like, you can do it.
Yep.
And you know what that's resulted in now? That's resulted in every single time they tell me they can't do it. Dad, I can't. My daughter, she's the best. She's like, well, I can, but okay, cool. So you know
Okay.
there's a solution. You know there's a solution, right, kid? Yep, I know. Let's go. Figure it out.
That's
Right?
insightful at 8 years old. That's a good for her
You
to
know what?
recognize that was really
She's
good.
already doing that. She's been doing that for a bit, right? And
That's
she
awesome.
she still says she can't. This time she says it, right?
Sure.
Why? Because she's smaller. Maybe she can't reach something, right? Even if I say to her, well, you guys can't do that. I'm like, well, you can do that. However, because I'll catch myself using that word can't with them because I tell them, yes, you can. And I've always pictured that rock climber who does it with no ropes, who literally will fall to their death if they doubt themselves at any moment in time.
Yeah.
So I tell my kids, yes, you can. And if you guys think right now, for everybody tuned in, if you guys think about the fact that you're probably not climbing a mountain, you're probably going to have that opportunity to not fall to your death if you make a mistake. Let that empower you.
Yeah.
Let that teach you that there is a way to do it. You just got to figure it out. So if you're going to allow your mindset, your thoughts to stop you, to hold you back, you're not going to get where you want to go. You're not going to get to that spot that we talked about, the there, whatever there is for you. Yet when you believe and truly work towards the fact that, yes, you can, you just got to figure out how, no matter how hard it was, how frustrating it was, how much it brought you down, how sad it made you, whatever, there is a way to make it happen. There is. No matter what, there's a way to do anything we want in life. Hell, can you tell me something? I have a question for you. How are we doing this right now? How is it that you're where you are and I'm in Toronto and we're talking through video conferencing? I remember this stuff on the Jetsons and we all sat back and went, wow, that'd be so cool. You're all the way there. I'm all the way here. And somehow we got sound, we got video, we got people that are going to watch this thing at some point. How's that work?
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody figured it out, right? Because they figured they can. Somehow they can. And they did. So can you.
And it's probably because back in the day in the 80s that we used to take our telephones with the long cord and stretch it all the way around the corner in the kitchen and talk on them. And that kid grew up and said, this is bullshit. I want something better.
And more is coming, people. More is coming. And we all know it. The crazy part is we don't even know what it is yet.
We don't even know what it is. Exactly. That it's like, it's just the technology that's in front of us. I mean, we see if this will be obsolete someday. Can you imagine? Just even when you go back to the Future movies and they, he's got it up on the screen, the big screen calling things out. We're doing that now.
That's right.
Can you imagine what happens when, electronics themselves? I've just been told that my Mac it's a 2013 model and they told me it was obsolete. Broke my heart. So I'd buy
since the day you bought a Mac, it's obsolete. I'm sorry, I'm a PC. So
but it was a 2013. Just so from 2013 till now, that made some technology obsolete. Think at that's the rapid sense of rapid amount of time that we're building new technologies. Can you imagine what we're going to be in 30 years?
Okay, wait, we're going to go full circle here now. Okay, and here's something else to realize too. Back on this thing of like staying in your lane, right? Is if you think about how quickly things move. And you think about how much is out there every single day and how much we're exposed to, especially when it comes to marketing messages. Part of this is now when you come back to the normal marketing of it is how are you going to dig deep enough to be the one that they remember? And I mean, essentially, that's what Mindshare is all about.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk more about that when we get together.
Full circle, people. Full circle. That's how we do it. This is called unscripted and freestyling, the very best. So I thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to spend with me today. It's always a pleasure. I cannot wait. We will absolutely be together in the future at an event, speaking someplace. We'll have cocktails. I will send you a TikTok. I'm also going to send you a TikTok talking about your little girl. I know I sent you the one to show your kids about the hockey gal, the little girl playing hockey, that balancing on that thing. But I got another one with a little girl who climbs. She climbs everything, like straight up a freaking wall. I don't know how she does it. It's like her little hand just like must have little suction cups and she just does everything. She's amazing. She believes she can do it. So I'm going to send that to you as well. Cool. And everybody else, thank you for joining us today. If you have not got your ticket to RESACON, go to resaconvention.com. It's September 30th and October 1st. It is 2 days. Everything else is on demand. So I think we have between 20 and 30 on-demand sessions, plus our keynotes, which David is one of them, and he will be speaking about the path of least resistance. So be sure to join him as well, because that's a live session. And like I said, everything else is on demand. So get your tickets soon because prices do go up the closer it gets to the event. Until next time, everybody, happy staging.
See you there.